Hey, what's going on, guys? Zedd here, bringing you another Soul Calibur 6 video. Today is just going to be another discussion video, not tech. So today I want to talk about my thoughts on Season 2 as a whole, where I want the game to go, where I think it's going to go, and things I'd like to see changed or just kind of toned down in general, or toned up, depends. I do have a lot to say on it, though, so I'm just going to get right into it, starting with the fact that I think season 2 is just too fast. Now, I'm not referring to frames when I say that, right? I'm not saying like, oh, I10 or I12, 14, 12. What I'm talking about is the time to kill is just too low um, for most characters. So you look at characters like Shenghua, like Taki, um, maybe even arguably Hilde, arguably. It takes a little while to actually get the kill, right? You're working away quite hard to finally get the kill, but generally these characters are either safe or they have good range or there's very low risk involved with lower damage characters, generally speaking, um, which is fine, but I just feel like this lower time to kill is kind of a result of the introduction of an overabundance of mix in Soul Calibur. So on release and even back at the end of season 1, there weren't a lot of characters that had actual mix-ups that you had to worry about. And what I mean by actual mix-ups is true 50-50s that have, like, one might be a medium risk, medium reward, or then low risk, low reward, and some were even high risk, high, and low. You get the idea. You get the idea. Um, it but Bandai introduced a lot of mix-ups to different characters, or they made stances that were previously niche in the application and they just buffed them just because. Some characters got buffs where they didn't need them. Some characters got and this is the other thing. Some characters got tools to make up for some of the only weaknesses they had. Which is kind of dumb too, because I feel like a healthy design of a character, unless they're specifically made to be a jack of all, is that they have clear weaknesses. But some characters got things to combat these problems, and it really makes me wonder what the design philosophy is. Like, if Bandai wants every character to be just all around good, then I can understand that. But in order to do that, you have to really level the playing field, and you have to do that for everyone, and they haven't been doing that for everyone. Now, I'm not saying this in out of like spite for my own character. I think Shenghua is in a pretty good spot right now, except for the time to kill, and I'll get back to that topic in just a second, but my point is that I just feel like some characters are getting things for no good reason. Like there's no reason, and then other characters are losing things or getting nerfs for no reason. There's a lot of like nani the fuck kind of moments right now in season 2 with the patches, and it is showing kind of their true colors in terms of balance and where they want the game to go. So, back to my original point. I think the time to kill is too low. You die so fast. And some of these characters' mix-ups, you just die so fast. Like, at the very least with Shanghua's, if I'm poking you down in neutral, I might be dealing, maybe 20 damage here or there, give or take 5 points, right? And then to actually deal with the mix, Shanghua herself has there's clear counterplay to Shanghua's mix-ups, whereas other characters there isn't clear counterplay. For example, if we look at full crouch through A and full crouch through B, this is 24 damage and it's 0 on hit. Okay, you can still do whatever you want there. We're neutral, right? And it's only 24 damage. You look at Amy 4AA when she has Red Rose, it's I believe it's more damage, or it's the same damage. I don't remember, and it's faster. And it actually tech crouches, whereas this move doesn't tech crouch. So, like, this isn't unlike any move we haven't seen before, right? A lot of 1As will do comparable damage too, and so on, so on. So, we can call the full crouch mix-up a mix-up, but then you look at her PXS, and this is my point, PXS-A and the PXS-B, any of these raw transitions on hit, you can counter by 2A or other things that your character may have access to. And then Xianghua's counterplay is that she can do either Beihua or can crouch throw, but both are hard reads on the Xianghua's part. So it's not just a blatant 50-50 that you have to just take and deal with. No, it is a mind game for both players. That the 50-50s I like are the ones that involve some or that have some form of counterplay, which is why season 1 as well was so polarizing compared to the rest of the mix-ups in the game, because when he put you in an Oki situation, there was no counterplay other than stay down, which wasn't a good option either. So it just feels like a lot of the pressure now in the mix-ups have become more apparent and more obvious, and there are more ways to apply these mix-ups and heavy pressure. So now I know it's vague, but I don't want to get into specifics, so this video will be like an hour long. Or they're buffing characters in ways they didn't need to be buffed. For example, Yoshimitsu, right? A lot of his stuff across this season has been buffing his neutral. He already has really good movement. Like, if you've ever looked at a good Yoshi player's movement, it's so fast because the character has good movement. And then he has tools like, I think it's 4KB, very far-reaching with punish. He has B slide A, A slide B, 2A plus B, 1K, like full crouch 3K, and like he has tools to be super fast and like nimble and quick and agile, but they're buffing his neutral game, which was his weakness. So it's like you're making a character who was really oppressive to play up close, oppressive to play at all ranges. Okay. And then you look at characters like Ivy, she's kind of already been that way, but they gave her, you know, ways to handle people up close and afar, like more ways to play a far game. You look at Mina, they're buffing the 3BK. Like just in general, they're giving characters things to work around their weaknesses, and it's a very weird design choice, and I don't know if I'm happy with it. Because the truth is, I'm having a lot less fun in Season 2 than I was in Season 1. And I would say that is primarily because I don't feel like the game is well balanced. Now, hear me out. What I mean by that is I feel like the top 5 or 8 characters are distinctly the top 5 or 8 characters in their own respective categories, and the rest are just why would you play them kind of situations. It's not that characters are bad. It's that there are specific characters that are too good. It's kind of like Tekken, right? Tekken, I think, is a great example. In that, like, I don't really know what the status is right now with Leroy and all that, so like, don't get into that with me because I don't know. But I remember Akuma, right? Akuma last season, he was like insane, and then everyone else was still pretty good, right? Or even in the earlier days of Tekken, like season 2, I think you had like Dragunov, Brian, Paul, Kazumi, and like those were your top dogs, but you could still play anyone. It's just those 4 were so good, why would you play anyone else, kind of thing, right? And I feel like Soul Calibur has gotten to that point as well. You can play anyone and you can win competition, but you're just working you're just working really hard when other characters can kind of just hit their head on their keyboard or their pad or their hitbox or whatever you're playing on and just play the game, right? Now, is that a bad thing? No, not necessarily, but I don't think it's very enjoyable. And at the end of the day, it is a game. That's what this is about. It's about enjoyment factor. Playing against Sung Mina is not enjoyable, right? I feel like it's wise to design your game in a way that it is enjoyable to play against the opponent and to win against them and to beat them and to overcome obstacles, right? Like, as frustrating as Ivy is, there's a lot going on. If you beat an Ivy, you should feel very happy about that, right? A good one. Or if you can get in against her constantly, that's great. You should take that as a win. But Song Mina is such a basic, dry kit, and she's so oppressive because of the Oki situation she forces you into. And by forces, I mean literally a force block. What is it, 25% or something? I don't even remember. 25 to 29%. forest block on Oki or reset into another Oki situation. Like, it's not fun. And she's not the only character, but it's not fun. And it's just, it's ridiculous. So in general, I just feel like, oh, and the other thing too is the game is becoming very flashy and like unnecessarily so. We used to have to manage resources in season 1. You don't have to manage shit in season 2 because they're nerfing guard damage across the board, so like you don't have to worry about that other than maybe 2 or 3 characters. Reversal edge has changed, so you can kind of just use that for free meter in certain situations now without the risk. Resist Impact just completely deletes some setups that some characters had in season 1, but then it also is a no cost in terms of your guard gauge, no cost way to reflect. And if you reflect, you actually gain guard back. I think it's 13%. Sure, you're spending half a bar, but there's so many ways to gain bar now because in season 2 they gave everyone new ways to get like soul gauge, restore health, restore guard gauge. Like there's so many more things involved with the resource mechanic now. And then you have soul attacks. So like if you're a character with a strong soul charge, but you couldn't really get situations to use soul charge, because like Xianghua is a great example. Her soul charge is it's average, right? And in terms of Soul Calibur, I think it's probably bottom 5 soul charges, but it's not unusable. But the problem is you didn't want to shove them away like this, right? So that was the biggest problem. Now you bring in soul attack, and you have, for most characters, I think it's I-16. You have an I-16 whiff punish essentially that gives you soul charge and advantage on hit. So a character like Talim, right, very strong soul charge, she can just go right into it off of combo and gets Oki for it. Right, so it's just the game is a little too wild now compared to what it was. I think in a way Soul Calibur kind of lost its identity in that it's almost trying to be too big and grand and flashy. And it almost looks like the devs think the game needs to be faster to be more fun, but me as a player, I actually think the opposite is true. Part of what I loved about Soul Calibur so much is that it was less ridiculous than a lot of the other ones, a lot of the other fighters out there right now. Like Tekken, the argument you might be thinking is, well, Zedd, if you want to play that game, why don't you just play Tekken? I think Tekken's fucking boring. Like, Tekken is not enjoyable. Like, Tekken to me is so dry that, as a player, that I have zero desire to play that game. You have a really bare bones version of meter mechanic, and everyone fights with their fists. Most characters have the same effective range, and I like the footsies aspect of a weapons-based fighter, not the footsies aspect of a game that I have fucking anchors on my feet and I can't even move. Like, no, I'm not playing Tekken. And so Soul Calibur being my favorite franchise, and it's always been kind of that, it's always shared that identity with being that kind of a fighter. It just feels like the game is going in a direction that's just too fast, flashy, aggressive, like mix-ups, and I don't like it. I don't like it. So I don't know. I'll kind of move on from that point, or I'll be here forever. Part of what I don't like was just the changes to various stances in general, because you're just adding this extra layer of frankly bullshit that I don't want to deal with. Like you look at Maxi, I think the only thing that makes Maxi somewhat redeemable from what I thought about him last season, and for those of you who don't know, I thought he was the absolute worst character in the game last season, and I still believe that for season 1. The only thing that makes him redeeming in season 2 is Heaven's Guard, because, like, I'll show you for those who don't know, but what makes him annoying and just frankly very non-interactive in season 2 comparatively is that they buffed a bunch of the transitions, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because you can still call him out on the bluff. The problem is Heaven's Guard. So the problem with this move is that it GIs everything and you can't re-GI it. And you're kind of just playing this game where you have to sit here and basically take a block string like an anime game, and wait for your turn, which will come. Like, you can stand block Maxi most of the game and you'll be fine. Like, that's not the issue here. The issue is that's not what 3D Soul Calibur was all about. It's not about taking a fucking block string. It's not about like, is he gonna Heaven's Guard? Is he not? There's no counterplay to Heaven's Guard other than waiting, and I think that's my biggest issue with the move as a whole. Um, is that it GIs everything, and you can't re-GI it, but you can re-GI a regular resist impact. So it's just direct. Like, I'm not saying Maxi's broken. Like, please don't take that this way at all. It's just I'm giving you an example of how I think this is the laziest way they could have possibly buffed this character, and they made it so that the opponent, in this case the Xianghua, basically gets to have no fun and just has to decide when to stick her nose out. Like, I don't think that's a good design. I really don't. And so there's a lot of that more now in the game, and there's a lot more bullshit. Like, Shura Blade on Mitsurugi is like, really? Really? So we're gonna make the King of Neutral's character, or the character that is the King of Neutral, even better at neutral with an I think it's I-12. I-12 or 14, can't remember. Like 60 damage punish or something ludicrous. I can't remember now. But it just... Okay, so to kind of wrap up my thoughts, I just think that the game is just whoa, whereas previously it was, you know, a little more chill. You could play a little slower, right? Whereas now it's like go, 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 you know, like never stop kind of a thing. And I don't think that that's necessarily wise. So, I don't know. That's my thoughts on it anyway, but yeah. Let me see now, because it's bothering me. There it is. This move, yeah. So like this move, 42 damage, okay. 42 damage, and it's just, yeah, I don't know. Moves like this make me go, really? Like, really? Alright. Like, in general, there are just some moves that are super overtuned. Xianghua has some too. But I don't really like it. So in general, I think Soul Calibur is just too fast, and I don't think it's a very healthy direction. As a spectator, I'm sure this game is more fun to watch now than it was in Season 1, though, I'll admit. But I don't think I'm having as much fun in Season 2 as I was in Season 1, personally. But, yeah. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Season 2. Kind of mismatch. It's just kind of a mental, verbal dump on the screen, so you know you don't have to watch it. If you stuck it out, thanks for watching. My Discord, Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch, all that stuff's down below. Let me know in the comments what you think about Season 2. Are you enjoying it? Are you not? Why? Do you think the game's broken, balanced? Why? Etc., etc. And I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.